Okay, so if you heard about this, there's this whole controversy surrounding a deleted scene from the movie PK, that Bollywood film with Amirkhan, where he's an alien, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah. Well, it turns out there's this deleted scene that supposedly got cut because some other religious groups weren't too happy about it.
Really?
Yeah. And guess what? This scene involves Buddhism.
That's interesting. I wonder what it was about.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to take a deep dive into why this scene might have caused such a stir and what it could have meant for the film's message.
I'm in. I've always been fascinated by how films tackle sensitive topics like religion.
Me too, especially in a place like India, where there's such a diverse mix of beliefs.
Exactly.
So before we jump into the deleted scene itself, let's do a super quick recap of PK for anyone who needs a refresher.
Sounds good.
Okay, so basically PK is about this alien who crash lands on Earth. And he's totally clueless about our customs and traditions, especially when it comes to religion.
Right, he's like a fish out of water.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts asking all these questions about God and faith, the kind of questions that most people wouldn't even dare to ask out loud.
He doesn't hold back at all.
Nope. Which is what makes the film so interesting. And of course, it ruffled a few feathers along the way.
Yeah.
Now imagine if his journey included a meeting with a Buddhist monk.
Okay, now that's where things get really interesting.
Right. So this deleted scene we're talking about shows PK still desperately trying to find his way back home. Remember, he's looking for that remote, which is basically a metaphor for his journey back to his own world.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, in this scene, he comes across a Buddhist monk, and they have this deep conversation that adds a whole new layer to his search.
I see, so the monk becomes like a guide for him.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is that the monk offers a perspective that's totally different from what PK has encountered so far. He explains that Buddha didn't believe in God in the traditional sense. Instead, Buddhism focuses on finding enlightenment from within, not through worshiping external deities.
Oh, wow, so it's more about self-discovery and personal responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And get this, when PK asks for help finding his remote, the monk encourages him to search for it himself.
He doesn't just give him the answers.
Nope. The monk emphasizes self-reliance, which aligns with those core Buddhist principles like karma and the idea that our actions shape our own destiny.
That's a really powerful message, especially in the context of PK's journey.
Right. It could have added so much depth to the film's exploration of faith and spirituality. So the question is, why on earth would they cut something so insightful?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Well, the essay we were reading suggests that other religious groups might have felt threatened by how positively Buddhism was being portrayed in that scene.
I can see that PK was already pushing boundaries with its critique of religious dogma, right?
Yeah.
So adding this scene, it might have been seen as giving Buddhism too much of a platform or showing favoritism.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in a society where multiple religions coexist, even highlighting one religion's perspective, even if it's positive, could upset the balance.
It's a delicate situation for sure.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't rule out the possibility that they cut the scene for purely artistic reasons.
You mean like pacing or tone?
Right. Maybe they felt it disrupted the flow of the film or clashed with the comedic elements. Sometimes creative choices are made for practical reasons too.
That makes sense.
But regardless of why it was cut, the fact that this scene exists opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really makes you think about the influence of external pressures on creative works, like how much freedom filmmakers have to explore sensitive topics without facing backlash.
It also raises questions about how religious representation in media can shape public perception and even potentially fuel tensions between different groups.
Definitely. And for our listeners out there, think about this for a second. If PK's remote symbolizes his path back home, what's the remote that you're searching for in your own life? Is it happiness, success, or a sense of purpose? And could it be, just like the monk suggested, that the answer lies not in some external force or miracle, but within your own efforts and journey of self-discovery?
It's definitely something to ponder.
It is.
This whole deleted scene really highlights how complex and nuanced these conversations about religion and belief can be.
It really does.
So what do you think? Ready to wrap up this deep dive?
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We sure have. We've explored the content of the deleted scene, the possible reasons why it was cut, and even the broader implications of religious representation in media.
And hopefully we've left our listeners with some food for thought.
I hope so too.
It's fascinating how one small scene can spark such a big conversation.
It really is. And that's the beauty of a good deep dive, right?
Yeah.
It's all about uncovering those hidden layers and challenging our assumptions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining me today for another deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.
Until next time.
See you then.